Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
The best response for a request for proposal. Now, if you're a coach or consultant, you have probably gotten a few B2B companies requesting you to submit a proposal based on your consulting, your training, your information, or your expertise, or maybe they're looking for somebody who can bring in a paid sort of speaking gig, and they write a document to you and say, could you submit a proposal and it can be considered. Now, in this podcast, we're going to be talking about how you can best respond to a request for proposal and how to actually win these big projects, or maybe gain new clients if you have been approached by somebody to send them a proposal, especially if they're a large corporation and you're not the only person that request for proposal has been sent to. Okay, so obviously as a coach or consultant, I need to know maybe what your response would be when somebody says, hey, send us a proposal, so that we can consider you, in our next decision to make, to solve the problems that your company solves. And most importantly, I want to know what should your response be, actually. And I'll be telling you what my response is and how I actually deal with, requests for proposals, and, maybe something you should adopt in your business. Okay, so if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, so a lot of companies, before they hire a consulting firm or a coach, especially for a large scale project, they often put out a request for proposal. It's RFP in short, and I'm probably going to be going RFP throughout this podcast, and they receive a whole bunch of proposals and pricing options from different firms and coaches that are bidding to, undertake this large-scale project in and of itself. And in this podcast, I'm just going to help you navigate this whole world of requests for proposals, and you actually learn how to effectively respond to RFPs, just in case you haven't started receiving them, or if you have, how to actually, formulate your business model in order for you to be able to be in the best foot possible to respond to these large scale projects that might be coming your way. You see, I'm going to be upfront. I don't care any much for a request for proposal. The reason being is this is usually something that's beyond your control. Okay, no matter how lucrative and no matter how tasty the request for proposal sounds like, I've received about 3 in my entire 10 years in business. Not to say that, I'm not putting myself out there to be in a position to receive them, but I love being in control of how I generate my leads. I love being, not being subject to somebody else's mercy in order to be part of a large-scale project. If somebody wants to work with me, then they make an inquiry just like everybody else. Not want me to jump through hoops and negotiate with them up until they cut down my price just because somebody's out there who can do it cheaper, better, faster. But that's my own opinion. You know why? Because I'm bullish about the way that I do my lead generation. So if your business can actually cater for these sort of leads coming through, that's well and good. Because I can understand growing your business is not an easy endeavor. You're probably cold calling potential clients and having them maybe hang up in your face. And if you then receive somebody who writes to you and says, hey, could you put together a proposal? We want you to be part of this, big project. it might be, something that might be like, wow, let me jump straight into it and forget everything else that I've been doing, because maybe you've been sending out hundreds of emails and not even getting as much as, hey, thanks for reaching out. But if a big company that you absolutely respect and you would want to be associated with reaches out to you and says, we've got this big project, we are this big client, slave away for us, and write a proposal that we might not even consider, you might think twice and start jumping into it. So here's the problem, and you will notice my tone when it comes to things of that nature. I just received one from a company that I absolutely respect, but I know they're just having me as part of, we've got a pool of all these digital agencies that we have inquired from. And if you want to see this request for proposal, just send me an email, prosper@livelongdigital. I'll forward you the thing, and you can have a look at and see what it actually looks like. It's very enticing, and it's very, ego. What do you call it? It strokes your ego when a big company reaches out to you and says, hey, I want you to be a part of the people that are going to be requesting, sending us a proposal, etc. So in theory, a request for proposal actually provides you with an opportunity to win a big client, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can put that amongst your bragging rights at the pub when you high five your mates, but it doesn't necessarily mean you won the job, okay? But there's a lot of pitfalls you need to watch out for, especially when you receive one of those that comes your way. And it's not rare for the company, especially the big client or organization, to already have chosen a consultant or coach in their mind before they even send out that request for proposal. And it's only, if you're a big entity, a public organization, or maybe a government, they usually call them tenders. When you have to submit a tender or a request for proposal, government entities and public organizations are usually required to send out RFPs so that they can consider all options. And I'm saying this in inverted commas, you know what I mean? And the firm might already have in mind a consultant who will be working with them, and especially the person who would have created that RFP is usually the consultant they're going to go with anyway, because if they already know what they want, why are they not just hiring somebody specifically for that particular problem that they want solved? Or usually it's a consultant that they've worked with before and they want to use again, but just so that they are not going to be pointed at or be dragged through courts for favoritism and things of that nature, they just put out a blanket request for proposal just so that they make it look like everything is fair and square. Let me tell you something about this whole thing. It's an illusion, all right? But since everything else in life is an illusion, you might as well just pick the ones that empower you. And one of them is not you, trying to beg people to start working with you, especially if they've sent you a request for proposal. All right. So usually the people that write these proposals are consultants anyway that are already working with them. And the scenario is more common than you would ever think. If you haven't received one of these and you receive it for the first time, of course it really strokes your ego, but it's going to be a lot of work for you to actually even get through the door to be considered for this particular proposal that they are requesting from you. And as a consultant or a coach that's responding to maybe this request for proposals, you might find yourself spending hours and hours working on that proposal, only to find that you're just helping the client comply with their internal procedures, just so somebody within some department within that company can just tick a box. And then they just awarded the project to the person who wrote the RFP in the first place, or to your competitor. In reality, your competitor was selected long before the awarding company even sent out the RFP. And they were just doing a formality, in order for them to tick some sort of proverbial box so that nobody drags them to court for favoritism. And you never stood a chance to start off with. It's for this reason that a lot of consultants should not build their businesses around requests for proposals. And I'm saying this, and I'm really with utmost love and respect. Yes, it is an ego boost for you to receive a request for proposal, but don't waste your time on them, okay? You don't have control over the process. You're just competing against a sea of other Me Too people that are willing to, put out a really cheaper price. And that's a race to the bottom, and a lot of people are prepared to win that race. And oftentimes it's a rigged game. I don't know if I'm coming from a corrupt country or I'm coming from a corrupt background, but I know it happens even in the first world, especially when it comes to government projects or things of that nature, or even big companies that are ASX listed. They already have their people who they're going to award, the grants, the proposals, all to start off with. They're just gonna make other people just jump through hoops and make them look like they're doing something with their business. If you want to build a consulting business or coaching business on your terms, then your response to any RFP that comes your way should be a no thank you. Actually, the best response to a request for proposal should be, thank you for thinking of us and inviting us to work with you. Would love to, but we don't get involved in a rat race, all right? However, if you find that you don't find anyone that you're going to be happy to work with, or from any of the RFPs that you receive, let me know, and we'll be very happy to have a conversation with you, with regards to how we can work best together. That's how you should respond to any tender or RFP that's out there, instead of you trying to, win a race to the bottom, which you will never win anyway. It's just wasting your time, money, and effort, and embarrassing yourself in the first place. You can tell I'm a little bit salty around this whole topic because, if you don't know these things, you would think, oh my God, yeah, this is the one thing that I should do. But naturally, these things are already rigged. Because winning consulting, business using maybe effective marketing and sales strategies is almost always a better approach. You need to go in and generate your own leads. You need to go in and really connect with your audience, the people that you're going to be demanding money off of, not trying to game the system and one up your competitors by trying to be the person that goes in cheaper, better, faster. You know what I mean? And if you're generating your own leads, you've got a lot of control over the whole process. You've got control over who the quality of the lead is. You have control, over how often you need to be talking to them, and you set the pace and the tempo of your deliverables. Because if somebody comes in, they already know what they want. They already have demands. They're already telling you what to propose to them. You're never going to be in charge of that conversation or that relationship. You are already the underdog. And guess what? They're just going to be laying terms to you. They're going to have to sign NDAs and a whole lot of other red tape that you have to jump through. And you wouldn't want that. You are creating this business so that you're profitable and you enjoy working in the business. You don't want to be tethered on your phone 24/7 trying to fulfill, delivery on people that already never care about your existence, or the fact that you're a human being behind, the company that's working to, solve the problem that they put out a request for proposal for. Okay, so when you're generating your own leads, you've got control over the whole process. Okay, and it does require, yes, I understand that you learn your marketing and your sales, which are two top challenges for any consultant. And if you're going to be able to, identify your target market, clarify your message, you, my friend, will be able to attract the right kind of clients with the right kind of pain, instead of you going to beg people to release you, or for you to go to your kids' sports game when you're supposedly working for a company, that cares nothing about your own well-being, but then they just want results predicated on whatever proposal you would have put out to them. However, I know we've worked with other clients who have built a process, around responding to tenders and requests for proposals, and that's for them. I mean, responding to these RFPs has been quite lucrative, okay, because they've built systems and processes around the whole thing. And I can show you what it looks like. When somebody has their stuff in order, you know what I mean? Because sometimes the RFP that you receive is actually a genuine attempt by a company or an organization to find and hire the best consultant for the project. But half of the time, it's not like that, okay? Like I said, everything is an illusion, but you want to choose an illusion that empowers you. And these organizations tend to maybe have an approved vendor database. And by responding to a tender or that request for proposal, you might actually be included in their vendor list for next projects, just in case the ones that they go with firsthand doesn't work with them, and you're now in their database. Okay, so if you respond to a request for proposal or a tender with maybe you're persuasive, you're compelling, and you really give it your all, and you might stand out among the rest with your experience, with your expertise, and maybe the price that you put to the table, and then you might actually win this project. But when you write out a proposal that can actually win a tender or a request for proposal, it's difficult and time consuming. You're going to need a systematic approach when you want to be responding to them, and we can help you respond to some of these by getting you the systems and processes that other people have gotten them. But you can tell basically from my own demeanor and my own viewpoint, I tend not to worry about them. I bullish about the way that you can control the situation, because mostly what you now need to do is you have your whole entire consulting or coaching business structured around responding to tenders and requests for proposals. And you must actually have a dedicated person whose job is to sit down and write for these proposals and respond to these, requests for proposals. If you don't have this, and if you, don't have somebody who's waiting for these, setups, you might you won't win, because you don't have the time, you don't have the expertise, and you don't have the response or speed to actually respond to any of the RFPs in time and with the right framework that the organization or the company is looking for. So if you want to win business constantly with maybe tenders or requests for proposals, at the very least, you're going to need a process. At the very least, you're going to need somebody who is within your team and is dedicated to that aspect of running a business. Nothing more, nothing less. Otherwise, you're competing with other people that are seasoned professionals in this, space. And this is not a dynamic that I actually say maybe recommend, because if you're going to be building a business that's profitable and enjoyable, you want to be attracting the right people that you can work with. But if it's possible for you, it just requires a different setup. It just requires a different business model optimization. And we can actually look at what you're doing right now and see if we can bring you up to speed as to what other people are doing when they're responding to tenders or requests for proposals. And if you're willing to dedicate the time and effort to respond to these RFPs, you can go ahead. But first, make sure that you're willing to build the right processes and the right team around it. So maybe you decide to go in for tenders and the request for proposals. I'm probably just going to touch on how to differentiate your firm during the process of doing it, because if you're not going to stand out, then obviously you are not going to make any impact. All right, so maybe you've decided to move forward and apply for a tender or maybe a request for proposal that has come your way. The one thing you'd want to do is maybe start developing relationships with the people that are sending these RFPs. All right, so the key decision makers within that business. This can often actually help you move ahead, move ahead in line, because if you've got relationships with the people, they recognize your brand, they recognize your name, and they can actually put your file on top of the others, when consideration, comes into play. So basically, you want to build these relationships, especially with the people that actually are at the receiving end of this RFP, and if an RFP or a tender is worth responding to, and it's transparent about the awarding, company, what they're looking for and who they're going to hire eventually, and if it's not going to be one of those we've gone with this company, then maybe, like I said, having somebody specific on your team and having somebody who is a master at responding to these things will be key for you to actually go in and speak on your behalf. And if you really want to stand out, just make sure you've got a well-written, detailed proposal that actually contains thoughtful and honest answers. You know what I mean? Honesty always makes you win, because you're gonna maybe overstate your capabilities, and then you would let it be called out that you cannot be in 20 different places at once, like you said in your proposals. And if you're honest and there's a track record of the things that you can do, it will definitely help you win the project. I would really, really, really state that don't overload your proposal with any unnecessary documents, even if they are supporting your case. Remember, the people that are on the other end, they only have enough time to read words that you would have said. So don't make their job any harder. If you make their job any difficult and you don't prove your case enough, they're definitely just going to put your proposal to the sideline, and then you would have wasted a lot of your time trying to respond to this request for proposal. And this is one thing. The key to actually winning a bid is to meaningfully differentiate yourself from the competition. Just show that your business, your firm, or your consulting, your training has the highest chance of creating the outcome that is required by the company. Nothing more, nothing less. All right. At the end of the day, if you don't have the experience that is needed for you to create the desired outcome, just don't bother with this. Don't try and inflate your capabilities, because you'll be caught out. You know what I mean? If you don't have access to the people, the partnerships, the vendors, that would benefit with your project, don't bother. All right, because this is going to just waste everybody's time, your time, the awarding company time, and it's just going to be a whole big kerfuffle. And once you are relegated as a non-supplier, it will be very difficult for you to get any other jobs. So, at the end of the day, just create a list of what you can offer in the most truthful way as possible. And one other thing that happens with proposals is resist the urge to quote the lowest price. It's a race that you can win, a race to the bottom. Just because the awarding company sometimes pick the lowest price doesn't mean you should try to win the race to the bottom. Okay, sometimes if you're offering more value and you're actually offering some degree of confidence in the work that you're going to be doing, a higher consulting fee, a higher price is what other people would actually value. Because if you're going to be charging less than what other people are quoting, they're not going to think that what you're bringing to the table is going to be of value to you. So as you can see, all of this sounds like too much work for very little benefit. All right, and you could just walk away. What you really want to do is develop strategic plans that will definitely help you identify your ideal client, strategically message them, and make sure that you've got a marketing engine and a lead generating system that constantly attracts the right kind of clients with the right kind of pain that you can solve their problem. Okay. At the end of the day, you might hit submit for that proposal and you might not win that project, but you may have benefited from the whole process. I don't know. Whatever you're gonna do, as long as you're not wasting anybody's time, putting through or putting together that proposal. Okay. If you're going to be able to do this, then by all means go ahead. But if not, your default response should always be no thanks. All right. Like I said earlier on, you don't want to go into things that are going to waste your time, your effort, your energy, and raise your hopes so that you have what I call a CA. A CA is a crisis of anticipation. You're anticipating that this project, if you win it, is going to be the answer to all your financial woes. It's going to be an answer to all your problems. And then you put all your energy, time, and effort while you're ignoring the people that are actually paying you enough money to actually support your dreams and your goals. Okay? If you are going to be saying no thanks, you would have saved yourself a lot of time. Okay? And, at the end of the day, ask yourself, are you or your team, because you're not going to be able to do this by yourself, ready to go through a tender process or a request for proposal process. Okay, I mean, as stated, as I've been saying and trying to reiterate, I've tried to go through this journey myself, and yeah, I'm always trying new things. I'm always trying to find avenues to generate leads and things of that nature. This whole process is just a lot of time, money, and effort that's put into something that normally doesn't is not reciprocating as well. Okay, I mean, you can play the game if you want to. If you can contact your city council. You can find government organizations that are putting out tenders. There's a lot of these opportunities out there. You can check them out, and put them on a watch list. No matter what path you're going to choose, remember this: you can't influence the the request for proposal process. If you can't influence it, all right, you're leaving that to chance. You're leaving somebody to make a decision on your fate. And if you're going to be somebody who wants to create a business that's profitable and enjoyable, you want to make sure that you are making all the decisions yourself. You're not worried about if you're not losing sleep over somebody having to make decisions over how you make your business. Okay, it's always better to develop these relationships with people, organizations who send out these RFPs, add value to their lives somehow, share your expertise on LinkedIn, become maybe a trusted advisor so that they can pick you without having to go through or jumping through hoops. I mean, it will put you in a much stronger position when you then submit your tender or you submit your request for proposal. And sometimes, instead of maybe sending out a request for proposal, they'll just hire you without having to worry about having to inquire other people that are in your industry. So you see, that's what some of the consultants and coaches in our online prosperity program do. And that's what we recommend, especially if you are going to be creating a business that's profitable and enjoyable. Somebody who's a consultant or coach who knows how to drum up business themselves. You want to be fully confident of your processes. You want to be fully confident of what you can bring to the table without a third party controlling the whole process for you. Okay, we're not here to beg for business. We're not here to get other people or other men or other women decide our fate. Maybe you've had experiences with RFPs or proposals or tenders. Maybe your experience has been different. Maybe you want to prove me wrong. Let me know. I'd love to hear what your setup is. But if you would like help taking advantage, especially of these challenging times, to generate leads for your business and to actually create a business that's profitable and enjoyable, I invite you to take time and have a call with us. Okay, we'll work hands-on with you so that you can develop a strategic plan. And we can then deep dive and work through your ideal client clarity so you know exactly who you want to work with. And then we help you clarify your message so that your message is strategic. All right. And then, you start offering, really good offers out there, demanding high fees and also pricing your products and services in such a way that you never have to beg people to hire your services. And we can help you with the business model optimization just in case you want to, go in for these RFPs, because you're going to need to hire a team and have systems and processes around responding to these tenders. But if not, I can just help you set up your marketing engine and lead generation system so you can constantly attract the ideal clients that are not going to want you jumping through hoops in order for you to actually do business with them. So, just pick a time in my calendar. Let's have a chat around this and just look at what it is that you can do, especially in order for you to actually put yourself in the right position to land really good clients that you can work with without having to jump through hoops. And once you've got the marketing machine and, the lead generation system for you to constantly be generating leads, I can guarantee that you'll be able to generate hundreds of qualified leads like clockwork, and you never have to rely on cold calling, emailing just to beg clients to hire you. I can't wait to see you succeed in everything else that you're going to be doing, and watching you deliver outstanding results to your clients so you can win their loyalty for life. And once you win client loyalty, guess what happens? These customers are going to sing your praises to their family, to their friends, colleagues at a barbecue, and even strangers on a bus. And you won't have to rely on a third party to decide your fate. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au